The motives of psychic attack, part 2. It is a matter of general knowledge among occultists that it is not a pleasant thing to fall foul of an occult fraternity of which one has been made a member by means of a ceremonial initiation into which one is bound by oaths. Hold on. As we have already seen, the malignant mind of a trained occultist is a nasty weapon. How much more so the group mind formed out of a number of trained minds, especially if concentrated by means of ritual. But in addition to the individual mental force of the members of a fraternity, and in addition to the collective force of its group mind, there is another factor to be reckoned with when a genuine occult organization is concerned in operations of either protection or destruction. Every occult organization depends for its power to initiate upon what are called its contacts. That is to say, upon one or more of its leaders being physically in touch with certain forces. If in addition to this, the organization has a long line of tradition behind it, a very potent collection of thought forms will be built up in its atmosphere. Every initiation ceremony contains in some form or other the oath of the mysteries, which binds the candidate neither to reveal the secrets of the mysteries nor to abuse the knowledge they bestow. The oath always contains a penalty clause and an invocation wherein the candidate submits himself to a penalty in the event of a breach of faith and calls upon some being to exact the penalty. Some of these oaths are most formidable affairs, and they are administered with every circumstance of solemnity that stage management can devise. The way in which the occult fraternities have succeeded in preserving their secrets shows how seldom these oaths are broken. In the event of a dispute with an occult fraternity, the force invoked in this oath may come to an action automatically. If the recalcitrant brother is in the spirit of the tradition and it is his chiefs who are at fault, the power invoked in the oath will be a potent protective influence with which the chiefs themselves will collide. If, on the other hand, he breaks faith with the mysteries, the avenging punitive current will come into action, although his defection may pass undiscovered. I was informed by an eyewitness of an incident which took place at an initiation, in which the candidate, a man to all appearances normal in every way, after taking the oath in the usual manner, suddenly screamed most terribly, startling everyone, and was ill for some weeks as if from a severe nervous shock, and never had anything more to do with occultism. He said, fuck that shit. No explanation of the incident was ever forthcoming. I was present myself upon one occasion when a batch of 3 candidates was being done, and it was suddenly noticed in the course of the ceremony that the number of the candidates had become reduced to 2. Inquiry elicited the fact that the third had taken fright and fled. Love to you too. What happened in these two cases? Hello. I do not know. Whether there had been a breach of good faith or whether one was intended, no one can say. But something put the fear of the Lord in these two individuals pretty effectually. That no such shock is inherent in the ceremony and is proved by the fact that these are the only two cases in my experience, and I have seen a very large number of ceremonies. Personally, when I took my own initiation, I felt as it I had come into harbor after a stormy voyage. Another man who was intimately known to me as an advanced occultist was turned out of the order to which he belonged. Why? I do not know. But from what I saw of him, I should imagine there were plenty of reasons. In defiance of his initiation oath, he began to work an independent lodge. He was warned to desist and did so. What's up, Braxton? Dismantling his temple, but he immediately began to get together another temple in a carefully concealed place. And this time he was more ambitious, for he made ready to attempt the greater mysteries. He was exceedingly clever. He was an exceedingly clever craftsman and made all the equipment of the temple with his own hands so that no one should know what was afoot. Concealed behind Nottingham lace curtains in a mean street in West London was a beautiful little temple of the greater mysteries. He completed his work after some months of arduous toil, no one knowing of it except those in his immediate confidence. But before commencing the actual ritual work, he went away for a short holiday at the seaside. And there he was, seized with a heart attack while sitting on the beach and died in 4 hours. The order secrets were not betrayed. Another man who had a dispute with the same famous order printed and published their secrets as an act of revenge. He was a man of good social position, considerable wealth, and brilliant literary abilities, already making a name for himself as a writer. From that moment, he began to go downhill and came to poverty and disgrace. The curse of Ahasuerus seemed to be upon him, and he was hounded from country to country, finding no abiding place. No publisher will handle his books, no paper will review them. Let me finally tell of my own experience in an astral skirmish. I wrote a series. I wrote I wrote a series of articles on the abuses prevalent in occult fraternities, and these were published in the Occult Review. My writing is largely inspirational, a great deal coming through of which I have no previous knowledge, and in this particular case, I evidently shot a great deal better than I knew, and I got myself into serious trouble. My first intimation of it was a sense of uneasiness and restlessness. Next came a feeling as if the barriers between the seen and the unseen were full of rifts, and I kept on getting glimpses of the astral mingling with my waking consciousness. This, for me, is unaccustomed, for I am not naturally psychic, and in the technique in which I was trained, we are taught to keep the different levels of consciousness strictly separate and go to use a specific method for opening and closing the gates. Consequently, one seldom gets spontaneous psychism. One's visions resembles the use of a microscope in which one examines prepared material. The general sense of vague uneasiness gradually matured into a definite sense of menace and antagonism, presently I began to see demon faces in flashes, resembling those pictures, images which psychologists call by the unpleasing name of hypnagogics, flashes of dream which appear upon the threshold of sleep. I was quite unsuspicious of any particular individual, though I realized that my articles had probably stirred somebody up pretty thoroughly. What was my surprise, then, to receive from a person whom I looked upon as a friend and for whom I had the greatest respect, a letter which left me in no doubt whatever as to the source of the attack and what I might expect if any more articles were published. I can honestly say that until I received this letter, I had not the slightest suspicion that this person was implicated in the scandals I was attacking. I was in a somewhat difficult position. I had fired off a charge of shrapnel on general principles and had apparently bagged a number of my friends and associates and fluttered the dove coat. Generally, my position was rather complicated by the fact that I did not know nearly as much as they apparently suspected me of doing. I had, of course, known that these abuses existed sporadically about the occult field, as everyone in the movement knows. But to know in this vague way is one thing, and to put one's finger on specific cases is another. I had evidently blundered into something much more considerable than I had bargained for. I felt like the small boy who, fishing for minnows, had hooked a pike. I had to decide whether I would try and get my articles back from the occult review or whether I would let them run their natural course and take the consequences like a G. I had a very strong impulse to write these articles, and now I began to see why I had it. I should have something to say in another chapter concerning the Watchers, that curious section of the occult hierarchy which is concerned with the welfare of nations. A certain section of their work is apparently concerned with the policing of the astral plane. Very little is actually known about them. One comes across their work sporadically and pieces the bits together. I have crossed their trail on several occasions, as I will tell later. Whenever black magic is afoot, they set to work to put a spoke in its wheels. But that as it may, I came to the conclusion that in view of what had now transpired, the impulse I had had to take in hand this piece of work might have emanated from the Watchers. At any rate, the work obviously needed doing. Someone had to tackle these plague spots if they were to be cleared up. So I determined to stick to my guns and see the matter through, and so left the articles in question to run their course. Very soon, some curious things began to happen. We became most desperately afflicted with black cats. They were not hallucinatory cats, for our neighbors shared in the affliction, and we exchanged commiserations with the caretaker next door, who was engaged in pushing bunches of black cats off doorstep and windowsill with a broom, and declared he had never in his life seen so many or such dreadful specimens. The whole house was filled with the horrible stench of the brutes. Two members of our community at that time went out to business every day, and at their offices in different parts of London, they found the same penetrating reek of the tomcat. At first, we attributed this persecution to natural causes and concluded that we were near neighbors of some fascinating feline female, but incidents succeeded each other which made us feel that things were not quite in the ordinary course of nature. We were getting near to the vernal equinox, which is always a difficult time for occultists. There was a sense of strain and tension in the atmosphere, and we were all feeling decidedly uncomfortable. Coming upstairs after breakfast one morning, I suddenly saw coming down the stairs toward me a gigantic tabby cat, twice the size of a tiger. It appeared absolutely solid and tangible. I stared at it petrified for a second, then it vanished. I instantly realized that it was a simulacrum or a thought form that was being projected by someone with occult powers. Not that the realization was any too comforting, but it was better than the actual tiger. I can agree with that. Feeling decidedly uncomfortable, I asked one of my household to join me, and we sat in the room meditating. We heard the cry of a cat from without. It was answered by another and another. We looked out the window, and the street, as far as we could see, was dotted with black cats, and they were wailing and howling in broad daylight as they do on the roofs at night. I rose up, gathered together my paraphernalia, and did an exorcism then and there. At the end, we looked out the window again. There was not a cat in sight, and we never saw them again. The visitation was at an end. Only our normal population of local Mausers remained to us. The vernal equinox was now upon us. I must explain that this is the most important season of the year for occultists. Great power tides are flowing on the inner planes, and these are very difficult to handle. If there is going to be astral trouble, it usually blows up a storm at this season. There are also certain meetings which take place on the astral plane, and attend them, many occultists attend them out of the body. In order to do this, one has to throw oneself into a trance, and then the mind is free to travel. That's very a vague explanation, but the point is, it's many ways to get outside of your body. But if you do the research, you will find out. If you're really interested in doing it, you can figure it out. And it's not scary. It's not something you need to be afraid of. You do it every night when you go to sleep. You just don't remember. And when you die, you're gonna do that. That's what you're gonna do anyway. So it can be scary, but it can be overcome, just like any other fear. And if you can overcome that, it can really help you a lot on this physical plane. You will become very powerful mentally, emotionally, and you can bring a lot of information back here to help you in this 3D physical reality. It's not about escaping, it's about empowering yourself. It is usual to get someone who understands these methods of work to watch beside the body while it is vacated to see that it comes to no harm. You don't have to do that, but if people do that, because if you're afraid, it just makes things more comfortable. You know what I'm saying? To know that your body is being looked after. But it's not like in Hollywood how they make it seem like if you leave your body, some spirit gonna jump in your body and steal your body, like the movie Insidious. That's not gonna happen. But like I said, if you that afraid and let's say you're really interested in these things, you interested in out of body experiences, near death experiences, and you want to try for yourself. You want to see for yourself because you don't want to keep people keep telling you stuff. You want to know for yourself, right? But you're afraid. That's one thing you can do. You can have somebody in the room with you, just like when you do psychedelics. You have a sitter. Same thing. You do out of bodies. You have a sitter to give your mind a sense of peace, to give you a sense of peace. So when you out traveling and doing things, you won't be afraid, and that just gonna interrupt the process. Because as soon as you get afraid, you're gonna slam back into your body, and you're not gonna be able to have that experience. In the ordinary way, when an occult attack is afoot, one clings to waking consciousness at all costs. Sleeping by day and keeping awake and meditating while the sun is below the horizon. As ill luck would have it, however, I was obliged to make one of these astral journeys at this season. My attacker knew this as well as I did. I therefore made my preparations with all the precautions I could think of, gathered together a carefully chosen group to form the watching circle. I have did it before, but it was spontaneous. It wasn't something I did intentionally, but now I am practicing how to do these. I want to know how to do it at will. See what I'm saying? Whenever I choose to, I want to do it. So ever since I had that spontaneous out of body experience, it kind of made me more interested in it. Like, okay, so what's the point of this? What was the point of that? You know what I'm saying? And then I started watching like near death experiences. You know how they got people could talk about their near death experiences and out of body people who do know how to get outside of their body. And I just was like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing. They going. It's giving them enlightenment. They becoming more enlightened. You get to ask questions. You don't have to go through anybody else. See what I'm saying? You can ask questions that you want to know and you get the answer directly instead of having to listen to somebody else's story or read it through a book. See what I'm saying? Yeah, because even when like I was watching Darius J. Wright and he speak about how people have sleep paralysis. And like you said with the breathing, when they have sleep paralysis, they feel like they can't breathe. And he was saying if they could get over the fear and just let go and not be afraid, they'll come outside of their body. So it's amazing that you just said that because he was speaking about that. But when I had my experience, I didn't have sleep paralysis. I just woke up. It's like I woke up out of body. See what I'm saying? I wasn't trying to do it. I didn't even know about it. I would just went to sleep and then I just woke up and I was floating and I saw my body sleeping and and then I started to look around my room. For some reason, I don't know why I was doing that because I didn't know what was happening. But I just started looking around my room and then something said, look at the clock. So I looked at the clock and then when I looked at the clock, I can't remember exactly what time it was, but let's say it said 1:53 a.m. I looked at the clock, it said 1:53 a.m. and I snapped back in my body and I woke up and I was like, I looked at the clock again, it said 1:53 a.m. And I said to myself, I said, that wasn't no dream, man. That wasn't a dream. See what I'm saying? I knew it wasn't a dream. So I became more interested in this stuff and I was like, I gotta do this on my own. I gotta learn this myself. And it's funny because the reason why I'm reading this is to help people overcome the fear of spirits and ghosts and demons and occultists and witches and curses and hexes and magic because it's gonna be hard for you to empower yourself if you think that somebody else got power over you, whether they in a physical body or not. So the point of these lives that I'm doing titled Psychic Self Defense, the Fear of Death, and Astral Travel is it ain't just to talk about, oh, this is amazing, even though it is amazing to me, but it's to help people overcome their fears. Yeah, that's basically the same thing with the yeah. Okay, I'm glad you're saying this because also was hearing about breath work too. I never tried it, but I am. I got I'm trying to keep it organized. You know what I'm saying? So I won't be all over the place. So I'm gonna finish this first, and then we're gonna do the Astro Dynamics book, and they got like some exercises in there. And then I'm gonna couple that with what I have been researching online as well, in my own experience. But like I feel what you're saying, because I heard of that too. DMT can come from inside. You don't have to have a psychedelic. Yep, you don't have to have a psychedelic. You can do these things naturally, and that's another thing that I like to make people aware of is that the power is in us. It's cool to take a mushroom. It's cool to take a LSD or whatever if that's what you feel like you want to do. But you don't have to. You can do these things naturally. So you said let go of breathing. If you let go of breathing, you'll slow down the heart to a panic of death without it dying. The more you can do it, the more comfortable you can get. Okay. All right. My attacker knew this as well as I did. I therefore made my preparations carefully chosen the group to form the watching circle and sealed up the place of operation with the usual ceremonial. I had not much faith in this operation under the circumstances, for my attacker was of a much higher grade than I was and could come through any seals I might set. However, it afforded protection against minor unpleasantness. The method of making these astral journeys is highly technical, and I cannot enter it upon here. In the language of psychology, it is auto hypnosis by means of a symbol. The symbol acts as a door to the unseen. According to the symbol chosen will be the section of the unseen to which access is obtained. The trained initiate, therefore, does not wander on the astral like an uneasy ghost, but comes and goes by well-known corridors. Meaning that trained one is somebody who know where to go instead of just floating around and stuff like this. But I also believe that we're not alone. So it's people that's helping you on the other side, even if you're not aware of it. And it's people helping you here as well. But what I'm saying is once you leave outside of your body, it is help on the other side for you. So you don't have to be so lost. You don't have to think you so lost if you ever find yourself in this situation. Okay. The cross, it was really originally the star of Ishtar. I'm gonna have to look into that. My enemy's task was therefore not a difficult one, for she knew about the time I must make this journey and the symbol I must use in order to get out of the body. I therefore prepared for opposition, though I did not know what form it would take. These astral journals, these astral journeys are really lucid dreams in which one retains all one's faculties of choice, willpower, and judgment. Now, I don't really agree with astral travel and lucid dreams being the same, but that's not the point. Let's just continue to read. I'm not here to judge Dion. I'm actually grateful for her knowledge and her experiences that she's sharing with us. Mines always begin with a curtain of the symbolic color through which folds I pass. No sooner was I through the curtain on this occasion than I saw my enemy waiting for me, or, if another terminology is prepared, I began to dream about her. She appeared to me in the full robes of her grave, which were very magnificent, and barred my entry, telling me that by virtue of her authority she forbade me to make use of these astral pathways. I replied that I did not admit her right to close the astral path to me because she was personally offended, and that I appealed to the inner chiefs, to whom both she and I were responsible. Then ensued a battle of wills in which I experienced the sensation of being whirled through the air and falling from a great height and found myself back in my body. Something big as a whole. Physics gives you the outline you have. We agree all things are individual function to be something bigger as a whole. So it's like everything is playing its part. You are the map. Okay, I agree with that. Even though I don't, even though I can't say that I actually know exactly what you're saying, I agree with it. You are the map. The universe is within you. But that's the point of having your own experience. That's why I desire to have my own experience. Don't get me wrong. I'm grateful for all the knowledge and wisdom that has been shared, but I still think the best experience is your own. So, so then it's through a battle of wheels. So her and her attacker had a battle of wheels, in which I experienced the sensation of being whirled through the earth and falling from a great height and found myself back in my body. But my body was not where I had left it, but in a heap in the far corner of the room, which looked as if it had been bombed. By means of the well-known phenomenon of repercussion, the astral trigger had apparently communicated itself to the body, which had somersaulted round the room while an agitated group had rescued the furniture from its path. I was somewhat shaken by this experience, which had not been a pleasant one. I recognized that I had had the worst of it and had been effectually ejected from the astral paths. But I also realized that if I accepted this defeat, my occult career would come to an end. Just as a child who had been thrown by his pony must immediately get up and remount if he is to ever ride again. So I knew that at all costs I must make that astral journey if I were to retain my powers. So I told my group to pull themselves together and reform the circle because we must make another attempt. I invoked the inner chiefs and went out once more. This time there was a short struggle, and I was through. I had the vision of the inner chiefs and returned. The fight was over. I have never had any trouble since. So just like with psychic attack, it's just like in the physical fight, you got to fight back. If you want, you can't just let people bully you. You see what I'm saying? You can't just let people bully you. You just can't let people do what they want to do with you. I feel you, Orion Candle. You say it's too much for anyone to comprehend. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of far out there myself, but I understand what you're saying though. But when I took off my clothes in order to go to bed, my back felt very sore. And taking a hand glass, I examined it in the mirror, and I found that from neck to waist, I was scored with scratches, as if I had been clawed by a gigantic cat, like that tiger she saw earlier. I told this story to some friends of mine, experienced occultists, who at one time had been closely associated with the person with whom I had this trouble. And they told me that she was well known for these astral attacks and that a friend of theirs, after a quarrel with her, had an exactly similar experience. And she too had been covered with claw marks. In her case, however, she had been ill for 6 months and had never touched occultism again. There is a curious epilogue to this story, which may or may not have any bearing upon it. I have already told the story of the mysterious death that took place on Iona, how the body of this unfortunate girl was lying naked on a cross cut out of the turf. No cause of death could be found, and the verdict was that she died of exposure. But if she were lost, how did she come to lie down to die in this ritual manner instead of wandering about? Why had she taken all of her clothes off before leaving her house, covering herself only with a black cloak? And why did she take with her a large knife with which she cut the cross in the turf? I do not know her later story, for I had lost sight of her during the last 2 or 3 years of her life. But at the time I knew her, she was associated with the woman I have referred to. The only marks found upon her dead body were scratches. Okay, the solar plexus, I understand that. As above, so below selfishness is not permitted in space. Self must be left behind, must be in the dark to see the light. That's why they make this earth. They place him in the center so he acts as the sun. Hmm, that's very interesting. And I got something that I like to say to remind myself that the power is within. I choose to believe in the power, the connection of God, the Most High, the infinite intelligence within me over anything else. Therefore, any problem, any circumstance, or event is mismatched, outclassed, disadvantaged. I always win. And I feel like you could use that phrase too if you find yourself in any fear or any doubt. Because the power is truly within you. You don't have to be afraid of no person, no place, or no thing. Nothing has power over you unless you give it power over you by way of your thoughts and your emotions and what you believe. If you believe that something or someone has power over you, then something or someone does. Amazing they are using a simple model. Everything is so simple, Orion. It's so simple, we don't believe it. We think it's got to be complicated. We believe it's got to be more to it than that. It can't be that simple. So, you know, make them believe that they got to be a genius to attain all this stuff. And the truth is, you don't have to be a genius at all. That simple is within. That's right. Seek ye first the kingdom, and all these things will be added on to you. Go to the closet, be still, know thy Father. Be still and know that I am God. The Son was just a consistent market where He is. Life is. That's what's up. I like that. I don't know. Maybe one day we can have a conversation around. Maybe one day we can have a deeper one-on-one conversation. I wouldn't mind, and I like stuff like this too. I know it's more to life than what we have been told. All of the things that make you alive, like God or your parents. They feel the grass. It seems that they feel the grass. I like that. It's like we are working together too, even when we don't realize it. We are. We are all working together. Even that's right. That's true. I was just gonna say, even the so-called good and the so-called bad, it's all working together for the highest good. Remember, like I said earlier, the infinite intelligence, it knows what it is doing. So, for example, we got people that think they can outsmart infinite intelligence, not realizing that they are being used, even in they whatever way they choose. Let's say they choose to. Let's say person A chooses to be a good person, and person B chooses to be a bad person. They both are being used by God, by infinite intelligence. They just think it's all them. See what I'm saying? Even me right now. I haven't I'm not a saint. I haven't done the most best things I could do. I consider myself a good person, but I'm not without fault. You know what I'm saying? But even in those times where I was being sneaky or I was not being the best person I could be, I was also being used. So it's kind of like they taught us that the devil, whatever they say, it's like people say the devil made me do it. No, the devil did make you do it. It just seems that way because it seems unholy, unclean, right? But what does this verse say? Nothing is unclean of itself. I believe that. I believe that. I believe that too. Yeah, because maybe you just want to come back and play the game again, or maybe you just want to help others beat their game. You know, but I do believe that it's not your first life. It's not the first time you solved the puzzle. It probably won't be the last time. Like I hear a lot of people say, "This is my last time. I'm not coming back." You don't know that. You might want to come back. Right. You might want to come back because it's not what I've been thinking about lately is I've been thinking like, okay, a lot of us be crying about how hard life is. But it's like when you leave and you go on the other side and you realize how powerful you are, you be like, dang, I'm thinking that stuff hard. It's not hard. It's just we forget. Yep. We forget how powerful we are when we get here, so we think it's hard. And then we which don't get me wrong, it is hard to to be in this physical body and your memory has been shot down of who and what you truly are. And then you gotta come here and you gotta pay bills and rent and you gotta take care of yourself. So I get why people say that it's hard, but it's not really hard. Believe that too. I believe that too. I'm back. Try again. I remember I remember back when all this um spiritual awakening stuff began, which it really always has been. But my point is, when it became trendy, and you would hear people say, "Oh, Earth ain't my home, and I don't like being here, and I want to leave here." I caught myself saying that sometimes too. Like, I hate this place. I don't want to be here. I never tried to commit suicide though, but I'm just saying, I have felt those strong feelings. Like I don't like it. I don't like this. You know what I'm saying? But now I'm actually starting to like Earth, even with all the crazy stuff that goes on, all the wars and the way people treat each other. The way people try to put each other down verbally and emotionally and physically. But despite all that stuff, I'm actually starting to like this. I actually starting to like this. I think it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty awesome, to be honest. And I can see how much of a beautiful place it can actually be. So I used to say, I ain't coming back here no more. But who knows how many times I done said that before. And I don't mind. I feel like the only reason I was saying that was because I didn't know, how powerful I was and who I was and where I come from. And it's kind of make you feel hopeless, powerless. And you be like, forget this. But now I'm like, I like this place and I want to help. Well, I guess we'll all see what's going to happen pretty soon anyway, right? But in the meantime, what I say is enjoy your life. Don't take it for granted. And just do the best you can every day. Be kind to one another. Don't mean be a pushover. Don't mean let people walk all over you and take advantage of you, but you be a kind person, you know, be respectful, help out when you can, and just do your best. Little by little, every day, do your best. And if you get down, that's okay. If you have a bad day, and by bad day I mean if you feel bad, if you're not so happy emotionally or mentally, that's cool. You could try again. And you don't even have to wait till the next day. You know how many times I have had negative thoughts or I felt heavy emotions and I turned it around the same day. I didn't have to wait till the next day. People say, you could try again tomorrow. I get it. You can't try again tomorrow. But you don't even have to wait till tomorrow. That's what I'm saying. If you get mad, it's okay. If you get sad, it's okay. Just recognize it, feel it, and then just move on. No, you're not the only one waking up. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's what they call it, the mass awakening, the great awakening. There's a lot of enlightening and awakening going on right now. That's why I said this is a beautiful time to be alive. If you alive right now, you get to see all the amazing things that are getting ready to take place. I mean, like I said, it's gonna be some stuff that we don't want to see, like war and people putting each other down and belittling each other and trying to hold each other back, and you know. But on the other side of all that, you get to see the gloriousness that comes after that. And, you know, people die, they're not really dead. They just left here, but they still alive. And I know it sucks to lose a brother or a sister, a mom or a dad, you know, a friend, but they still alive. So you can cry about it, but just know they still alive. And you can still talk to them and they can hear you. And they can talk to you too. You can hear them too. Even if you don't hear them, you still hear them. But I'm about to get up off of here, get ready for my nighttime routine. And then, you know, get ready for another day tomorrow. But peace and love to y'all. Thank you.